Now, before I continue, I must say that the equal footing with the original states is not entirely accurate, but I will cover that in more detail as we come across it because it's just down the page. So, without further ado, let's continue. The literal text of the original signed copy of the Constitution filed in the office of the Secretary of State has been retained, unless it has been repealed or superseded by amendment. Where the original text has been amended or where new provision has been added to the original Constitution, the source of the amendment or addition is indicated in the source note immediately following the text of the amended or new Constitution. Lead lines for sections have been supplied by the Legislative Council of the State of Nevada. End bracket. So it looks like this is an online setup for what the Constitution says, but this is not the Constitution itself. And there's a council that's in charge of relaying the stuff that happens in the legislature to our Constitution, and they're in charge of placing it onto this website. So now it looks like this line means this is the formal introduction, the beginning of our Constitution. And it starts off with a chapter breakdown. So you can see preliminary action here at the bottom. In brackets also connects to the preliminary action at top. And then there's a breakdown, mostly focused on the articles. Everything else just seems to be one section. The article seems to be breakdown into chapters. And then it looks like you can only really click on the articles. You can hyperlink right to the part of the page by clicking on these numbered, hyperlinked numbers. But let's continue. Preliminary action. Whereas the act of Congress, I'm assuming the United States Congress, approved March 21st, AD 1864 to enable the people, and it seems like the United States Congress got it right, the people, important people of the territory of Nevada to form a constitution and state government, and for the admission of such state into the Union on an equal footing with the original states, requires that members of the convention, probably the state convention at Carson City, for framing said constitution, this one, shall, after organization, on behalf of the people of said territory, adopt the Constitution of the United States, meaning we adopt the United States Constitution, and this state constitution is an extension of that constitution. Therefore, be it resolved that the members of this convention, the Carson City one, elected by the authority of the aforesaid enabling act of Congress, the Union giving the authority to the convention and the members of the convention at that time, assembled in Carson City, the capital of said territory of Nevada, and immediately subsequent to its organization, the creation of the state, the organization, do adopt on behalf of the people of said territory the Constitution of the United States. The ordinance, the next chapter, the next section, actually. Okay, and it looks like we have a bold. Maybe it's a title, but it's rather long and wordy. But it seems to be a consistent theme. So slavery prohibited, freedom of religious worship, disclaimer of public lands. So we're summing it up into 3 different parts. I don't know why we couldn't just break those into 3 different sections, but it seems to be all clumped into one section. Now we've got brackets, effective until the date Congress consents to amendment or a legal determination is made that such consent is not necessary. A legal determination made by who? And effective until the date which Congress consents. Because now, well, assuming this is the Union's Congress, all of these are effective until they consent to amend our ordinance, our constitutional ordinance, is how I'm going to take this. If you have any other ideas of how this works, by all means, leave comments. Moving on. In obedience to the requirement of an act of the Congress of the United States, approved March 21st, 1864, to enable the people of Nevada to form a constitution and state government, this convention, elected and convened in obedience to said enabling act, do ordain as follows, and this ordinance shall be irrevocable without the consent of the United States and the people of the state of Nevada. First, that there shall be in this state neither slavery nor involuntary servitude otherwise than in the punishment for crimes, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. Consider that with people who are incriminated or arrested and thrown into jail without being duly convicted, like Ryan Bundy. It goes against this Constitution. It would prove that we have lost our leaders of this state, this organization. If you're familiar with the Bundy case, the one in Malheur where he was arrested without crime, then you should look it up. You should look into it. So, but this Constitution says that there shall not be slavery or involuntary servitude. We shall not force you to do anything, serve other people, or be a slave, unless you have been convicted in a trial by the judicial branch, in which case you then could be a slave. You then could be forced to conduct involuntary servitude. Second, that perfect toleration of religious sentiment shall be secured, and no inhabitant of the state shall ever be molested. Molested? Like sexually abused. That's odd. You know, the connection there, perhaps there's a different definition of molested, but in this day and age, that's sexual abuse. So the perfect toleration of religious sentiment shall be secured. We shall not be intolerant of other religions, and no religion shall dominate other religions, and no inhabitant of the state. No inhabitant? So as long as you don't inhabit, maybe you're just passing through. It's weird to choose the word inhabitant as opposed to person. No person, no human being shall ever be molested in person or property. So by definition, molestation must have a different definition than just sexual abuse, because you can't sexually abuse property unless that property is a human being. But anyway, this is getting deep. Let's just move on. On account of his or her mode of religious worship. Okay. I assume that molested could also mean, as far as property goes, confiscation, or maybe vandalized. Okay. Third, that the people inhabiting said territory do agree and declare that they forever disclaim all right and title to the unappropriated public lands lying within said territory, and that the same shall be and remain at the sole and entire disposition of the United States. Now, wait a second. There's something seriously wrong with that. And I think that's where a legal determination needs to be made that such consent is not necessary for Congress to amend this ordinance. Let's repeat this again. Third, that the people inhabiting said territory do agree and declare that they forever disclaim, let's look up disclaim, all right and title to the appropriated public lands lying within said territory. Disclaim, refuse to acknowledge, they shall deny, we shall, the people inhabiting said territory, now granted it is a state, no longer a territory, but we shall forever, if it is us that this Constitution is referring to, us inhabitants of Nevada, it's saying that we shall forever deny the right and title to the unappropriated public lands lying within said territory, which at the time was very small. And I'm sure if you live in Nevada, you are aware that there's like 70% of the land is owned by the Union, and that's what this is right here, third. Okay, let's continue. We shall deny the public lands in the territory, and that the same shall be and remain at the sole and entire disposition of the United States. We gave it to the Federation. Now that doesn't quite put us on equal footing with the rest of the original 13 states, does it? The original 13 states do not have public land that is entirely, solely owned by the Federation, by the Union. That is synonymous. A federation and the Union in terms of the United States are synonymous with each other. And that lands belonging to citizens of the United States. So it's really because I know where this is going. It's going to go into something completely different, but it's a colon here, or a semicolon, that should not be. It should be a period, and more likely a new section. Let's read this. And that lands belonging to citizens of the United States residing without the said state shall never be taxed higher than the land belonging to the residents thereof, and that no taxes shall be imposed by said state on lands or property belonging to or which may hereafter be purchased by the United States unless otherwise provided by the lowercase Congress, this time, lowercase c. The grammatical consistency is terrible, as you can see right off the bat. Led by the Congress of the United States. So now, again, I made a point right here. There is something entirely new happening. First, in this third section, we are talking about Nevadans not being able to claim right and title to the public lands in Nevada. And that land, that 70% of the land that we're all familiar with, BLM, shall be and remain at the sole and entire disposition, a person's inherent qualities of mind and character. It shall be inherently the Unions. It shall be inherently the Federation, their land. And then on this colon, the semicolon, we go into something entirely different. The lands belonging to the citizens of the United States, all the citizens and all their land, residing without the state or outside of the state, non-Nevadans, right? This could be rephrased to be non-Nevadans, shall never be taxed higher than the land belonging to residents thereof. So if you are not a Nevadan and you own Nevadan land, if you are an American who owns Nevadan land, but you are not a Nevadan, then you cannot be taxed more than the Nevadans and their land. Moving on to this semicolon, onto another topic, and that no taxes shall be imposed by said state, the state of Nevada. No taxes shall be imposed by the state of Nevada on lands or property belonging, or property, so it's like the land and all the stuff on it, belonging to or hereby purchased by the United States. So anything the Federation owns on Nevada, no taxes. The state of Nevada, one hand behind its back, coming in with the ordinance that can't be changed by anything other than the United States Congress, or if a law is made, agrees with the Union that we can't tax the Union on any of the land they own, which is the vast majority. I just want to stop right here and say this is a terrible introduction to what is the law of our land. I don't think that's very good. I don't think this is very good at all. But I digress. Let's move on. Oh, it looks like an exact copy. It looks like one ordinance, a duplicate. Slavery prohibited. Slavery prohibited. Freedom of religious worship. Freedom of religious worship. Disclaimer of public lands. This was amended in 56. Okay, and that's still good. But this is, it's almost like, it's like a duplicate. But with a little change right here. Do you see this? The difference is disclaimer of public lands, and this is taxation of certain property. So we have a nearly identical, dare I say, title to a messy ordinance. Let's continue. Duplication, slavery prohibited, again. Freedom of religious worship, again. Taxation of certain property. Effective on the day Congress consents to amendment or a legal determination is made that such consent is not necessary. In obedience, which is now different. Oh no, it's the same. In obedience to the requirements of the Act of Congress of the United States, approved to enable the people of Nevada to form Constitution of the State of Nevada. What is going on here? Do you see where confusion starts to take place? This is the law of our land, and it just looks like it's an absolute duplicate, except for this. Let's assume that it's all the same, except for that third part. Duly convicted is here. Second, perfect toleration, religious, mode of religious worship. Second, perfect toleration, religious sentiment, mode of religious worship. Third, that the people inhabiting said territory do agree and declare that lands belonging to citizens of the United States residing without the said state. Let's just bring it back up again. People inhabiting said territory do agree and declare that they forever disclaim. Right here. This is where change begins. It's a duplicate, and instead of just amending it up, they have both of them. Just to waste your time. I like, why not make this efficient, convenient for the Nevadans to read? Why not? It's just, it's not right. All right. So now that lands belonging to citizens of the United States residing without the said state shall never be taxed higher than the land belonging to residents thereof, and no taxes shall be imposed by said state on lands or property belonging to or which may hereafter be purchased by the United States, unless otherwise provided by the Congress of the United States. The difference is very minimal. Oh, they eliminated this right here. Right here. That lands right here. They remove this. It's an exact duplicate, except they remove this one mid-sentence up to a semicolon. They forever disclaim all right and title. So we're now, I don't even, amended 96, amended in 56 and 96. The amendment was proposed, approved, ratified, 56, 95. I don't see any dates that are like 2018, 16, 19, 15, 20. I don't see any of these dates here. So why is it a duplicate? Why is this even here? You understand? Like, this is the beginning of our Constitution. So I'm going to end it here before we go on to the preamble, and just give you some time to think about that.